Yeah. So the talk is not very well structured. I know it for myself, but this will give an overall idea on what are the things that we can cover. Okay, and depending on, I have some suggestions how this can be narrowed down to a specific urban design intervention, or first of all, how do we approach this issue? Okay, so sorry. Is there an issue? Shall I continue?
Yeah, you can continue. You can continue.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so broadly what I have done is I have put three things. Okay, we will it will be more like discussions. I don't have the concrete idea. Okay, this is how you should do, but I'll give an overview on how this can be done. Okay, what are the things that we have to do before we actually go to the site, and what we should do in site. All right, so broadly I'll discuss things on data collection and what is the requirement as per URDPFI guidelines pertaining to the urban level issues. Okay, so that's one thing. Just a second, I think there's a call from your side. Okay, so broadly we will discuss about data collection, and then we will see the requirements as per your DPFI guideline, and some examples just to narrow down on how to where should we narrow down and how do we narrow down. Okay, so this is what I have thought how this can be. This session can be held. Okay, and it's after that probably you can go back and see how this can be translated into your approaching your design problem. Okay, so broadly we all know we don't have to discuss in detail like what is a data and how do we classify data. Okay, primarily there are two set of information. One is secondary and the other one is the primary data set. Now in the second we have not you are yet to visit the site, right? You will be visiting the site probably in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. Let's say before you actually go to site, what are the information that we can collect here? Okay, by looking at the secondary sources and also looking for data that is readily available. Okay, so that can be one of the basis to proceed with the study. Okay, so what are the things that we can actually look for? I think the case is Ambur. Okay, so there are certain informations which is already available. Okay, I'll also show you some websites or the locations where we can look for certain informations. Okay, so what information that we have to primarily look into? Probably first look at the data, the census data, that will give an idea on the population, the demographic profiles, and so on and so forth. All this information will be able to extract from the census data. We need information primarily on the administrative boundaries as well. Okay, why? There are two reasons. For example, let's say if you just Google it and see what is the size of the town. Okay, so you will get around 17 square kilometers. That is the scale of the town where you are visiting. But probably 17 square kilometers may not be more appropriate for an urban design issue. Okay, so we are looking for a smaller scale which we can handle and we can come out with some design interventions and so on and so forth. So that is one thing. the second thing is, unless we know what is the limit, what is the boundary limit from administrative stuff, okay, drawing a boundary by ourselves will be a difficult task. Okay, so my suggestion is we should collect information on the administrative boundary. Okay, this administrative boundary can be the municipal boundary, should be one of the layers, should be municipal boundary layer. Okay, followed by, if we have ward maps, okay, ward maps or any other smaller scale zonal maps, okay, this will help in identifying areas, specific areas which we can focus on. For example, ward information, let's say for example, it can be even electoral ward can also be useful if you can have an access for the boundary of electoral ward. Or if you are looking for zones, for example, let's say water supply is based on zone. Water supply distribution is done based on zones. So if we have an access to these zones, okay, that probably we can take one or two zones and specifically intervene. Okay, so the first thing is we should get hold of the administrative boundary profile, so that the things are clear for us before we go to the site. One. Second, of course, there are certain studies already been done on what is the profile of the town. Okay, what is it, socioeconomic profile, or are there any historical significance for the place, and so on and so forth. Okay, this again we have to look for the secondary informations, secondary sources to understand about the town, what is the history of the town, and so on and so forth. This is another information we need. All we can get it from the secondary sources only. Land use map. Okay, I was just checking the website. There's one website. Okay, I think I have closed it. There's a website already on the town, and there are certain information already available here. I think most of the information we can extract from here. I think you should, let's say if the class is working on 4-5 groups, or depending on group, each group at least one representative from each group should visit the municipality to get the required information. Especially, I would suggest that there is one, I was just checking the site, there's a department called town planning section, so which means they have a plan in hand. Okay, so if you go and visit, probably we don't have to recreate many of the things. Okay, so this information will be of great use for us if you get hold of it. So land use map, again we will how this will be useful for the studios, that we will see how we can translate this information for urban design issues. Okay, the other information we need is the roads and street network. Okay, so this I tried from OSM data. I'll show you a bit on that. For example, this layer, this is for the Ambur municipality. Okay, so if you go to OSM data, I think probably you should be aware, or if not, you can look for it. So if you go to Openstreetmap, You can give exact location for which you are looking for the information that you're looking for, and there are certain layers. I think it's loading, that's why I'm not able to show you the actual screen. If you go to Openstreetmap and then like we give specific locations, just do that. We'll be able to download certain information in the form of CAD files. Okay, so for example, if you there are certain information already available. Based on that, we can improvise it. Okay, so you just create a login page, and then you can assign the area for which area you need the data. So once you do that, you will get some information like this. Okay, so OSM file you'll be able to download. So once you there is a small conversion tool. Okay, so what we need to do is first go to Openstreetmap. Okay, specify the location. Okay, first you need to create a profile and login profile for OSM base. Specify location, let's say in your case it is Ambo, and define the area. Okay, so after that you will be able to download a file called .osm. File.osm. So this this .osm file can be converted into DXF file as well. I'll just show you that. I think there's one question. For the OSM, okay. So it is OSM Openstreetmap. You can Google Openstreetmap. Yeah, this will be the landing page for you, and once you go here, see, these are not main cities. Okay, so I'll tell you there are some issues with this. Issues in the sense we don't have explicit data as we are looking for, but we do have some basic information on which we can build on. Okay, so after downloading this OSM data, what you can do is there is a small tool. You can just directly type OSM to DXF. Okay, and there is a converter. Okay, the website is here. Maybe I can copy this in the chat box also, maybe if required. This is for converting OSM data to CAD files. Okay, so nothing, just click on browse, go to that folder and upload the OSM file. Okay, the file that you have downloaded from the Openstreetmap. Yeah, once you do that, okay, so it says these layers are available actually. Input, this input layer, that is OSM data, it says there are certain information that is available. Maybe, for example, let's say roads, trees, which will be directly useful for us, water areas, water lines, bridges, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just click convert, you will be able to do the conversion. This is not, I think this will not work for me because I have exceeded the limit already. I have downloaded many times, so it is not allowing me to do. So since you will be trying for the first time, you should get, after this step, you will be able to download a zip file. Okay, so that zip file will contain informations like, okay, maybe I have deleted it. Yeah. So once you unzip the files, you will have all CAD files, DXF files basically for that particular location. Okay, so I have just downloaded the same thing, and this is one of the output. Okay, this is one of the output where we have road networks, major road networks available in that. The issue is, I'll tell you what is the issue here. Though it says we have informations on amenities, bridges, buildings, land cover, power line, and so on and so forth. Buildings, you can see only these are the building information that is available. Unfortunately, we don't have most of the information on building. Only what I think is this you will be able to get hold of information on the road network primarily using this particular data set. And once you get this base, okay, and we will see how we can get the building footprint information and then superimpose on this layer. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So we were discussing on where to look for information for roads and street network. Okay, that's one thing. Of course, rail information is already there, and water is also there. You can just take the line, polyline available in the DXF file. Build. This is one of the information which is actually not available for Ambur in OSM data. Okay, so what we'll do is we will go to Google Earth, okay, and we will try to download high resolution images, okay, for the town, and then combine multiple images, okay, and then we'll superimpose, we'll digitize the buildings. Okay, I'll just show you some examples on how do we do that. So to put it in a summary, census data. Okay, so this will give an understanding on the population. In fact, this can be, we can use population projections, and then let's say if you are working it out for the next 10 years, what will happen, and so on and so forth, or any other socioeconomic characteristics that you want to analyze, this data set will be useful. Boundary, administrative boundary is required. This will help in identifying or narrowing down to specific area for specific interventions. Okay, so this will give you an idea how do we understand the town, what is the history, and how do we profile, what is the economic profile, socio-cultural profile of the town, so on and so forth. This is probably text, most probably text information. Land use, like I said, there is a department in the Ambur municipality, okay, and I'll also show you the plan that they have. Okay, so some of you definitely visit the municipality and get hold of the master plan that they have for the town. Okay, that will help in in a larger way. Then road and street network. Okay, we already have. I told you how to extract this from OSM dataset till here. Build. We don't have this information in OSM. We will depend on Google Earth images, satellite images, imageries, and then we will digitize. We have to digitize the buildings, and then superimpose or add that as a layer in the road network. Okay, in addition to that, I was also suggesting that we should get hold of this revenue map. Okay, so this is again a map. This you can get it in Chennai itself. This again will help in getting this boundary and also information on the parcels. Specific informations on the parcel of land, what is it assigned for and how is it being used. Okay, so this information will also be useful. Maybe see how this can be obtained. Okay, so these are very broad information. Okay, that is, and I would say these are basic, essential requirement to proceed further into the studies. Okay, as far as the primary data is concerned, okay, I think you will be conducting the socioeconomic survey as well. So socioeconomic survey is again is a big exercise. It's a big exercise. We should know what is the intention of the survey. Okay, so if the objectives of the survey or the socioeconomic survey is clear, accordingly questions can be framed. Okay, and the data can be collected. I'll show you one report. There will be many. In fact, if you look into URDPFI guideline itself, it tells you many things about how to conduct the survey, what kind of survey, what are the questions to be asked, okay, how many samples required. Everything is detailed out in URDPFI guideline itself. We don't have to go here and there looking for informations. Okay, so for this I'll also show you one example, how to frame questions, how you can easily map it. I'll show you one third party or example of questionnaires. Okay, this is one thing. When you go to site, this is on the socioeconomic aspect. On the other side, we need some information on the physical infrastructure. Okay, on maybe in terms of primarily you will be concerned with built environment. So the mapping of built environment should be done to the level best, so that you later on, if you propose some new interventions, okay, so that goes in hand with the existing infrastructure in hand. Okay, this can include, of course, this definitely includes built environment for your study. You should also try to map open areas, okay, and also other infrastructure which probably you will relate it with the built environment. Okay, so this is again a very big topic. Physical infrastructure can include your road network, mapping of all your road network, mapping of all your major amenities, and so on and so forth. Here I would like to give an idea how you can focus this part. Okay, so let's say you are doing, we have a case. This is your study area, and one of the objective is to map the physical infrastructure, right? So and like I said, this is going to be a big study area. Although you have the class is big, but still the study area is still quite a big study area. How do we map the entire physical infrastructure? That will be mapping everything will be very difficult. That's why we need some zones. Okay, if you can narrow down and then identify, okay, this is one of the zones that we are going to study. Okay, that zone can be detailed out in a more effective way, rather than taking the entire the boundary area itself and then mapping it. Okay, that's one general observation. Second thing is, let's say we have to create layers. Okay, at the end of the day, maybe at the end of all your primary survey and primary visit to the site, and also based on the secondary informations, we'll be creating layers on different. We'll be creating different layers, right? Which includes, of course, let's say road network. Okay, that's one of the layer. Second layer can be, let's say, we are interested in understanding how the open spaces are created within the study area. Okay, or let's say this, that can be open space, open and build relationship, or let's say we are focusing. The town is known for leather industry. Okay, so there's some economic driven development. Okay, so let's say one of your physical infrastructure layer or one of your layer is on mapping of these economic activities. Okay, which are the primary locations, only locations. Okay, we are not concerned with the details, just let's say only locations. Which are the primary economic activity locations, okay, and which are the secondary or the ancillary supporting facility for the primary activity. Okay, so it can be one of the layers. Or let's say we are concerned only, let's say, is for social aspect or socio-cultural aspect. Mapping of the important cultural activities, for example, let's say in terms of mosques or temples and any other common facilities, okay, in the overall study area. Okay, it can be that, or it can be, let's say, educational facility, it can be medical facility, and it can be any other facility that is required for the town. Okay, so this is again a big exercise. Maybe depending on the objective of the urban design that you are taking out, these have to be narrowed down, and then accordingly you can map it out. Otherwise, this will be endless. The list will be endless. We can do a lot of layers. Just one thing. Then, apart from after infrastructure, we also have land use, land cover. Okay, this again will help in identifying how the what is the extent of the town. Okay, and probable extent in the future. How the town may grow in future, and this can also help in identifying some pockets within your study area, and you can come out with some design interventions for that. Okay, so this is actually more or less this is done in the secondary data set itself. This is just kind of a cross checking whether the secondary information that you have obtained is actually correct or not. Okay, so this again will help in identifying the areas for residential, commercial and institutional and industrial activities, and so on and so forth. Okay, yeah, that's why I put this as LULC verification. This is not going to be a new element to it. So this is what I thought in general, or the essential data set that we need for creating base map. Okay, so based on that, a new understanding can be developed later on. Okay, so there are other things like in addition to this mapping and collect the primary information, socioeconomic survey can include profiling of the survey, or if you are interested in studying income distribution, so on and so forth, this can be done. Again, like I said, this also requires an objective. This can be from planning aspect, from design aspect, from economic aspect. Okay, so this again requires moderation. Okay, so before you frame questions, after framing questions, just check whether it is satisfying your urban design requirements or not. Otherwise, there will be many questions which may not be useful for us later on. Okay, then let's say once, if you have already done this land use map and created base, why are we going to site? Okay, we are going to site to to understand how this land use, land cover, or the built or residential and open space, or built and open space, residential, commercial and institutionals are spread, and how they interact. Okay, so when you do a survey, probably it can be done from the physical aspect. Okay, the study can be approached in environmental aspect. Okay, how what is the environment? Maybe it can be just in terms of green. Okay, in terms of green, it can be assessed only in terms of green also. Okay, so that's one thing. Or the approach can be on cultural terms. I think more than 50% are Muslims, and there is a specific cultural aspect attached to the town. Okay, so the study can be based on that. Okay, how what is that culture, and how is it reflecting in the town. Or it can be on economic layer. Okay, and like I said, this is known for leather industries, and how that has influence or how that is inculcated in the town. Okay, where is the major infrastructure facilities, and how is it translating into how this major infrastructure facility is supported by the secondary infrastructure facilities, and so on and so forth. Okay, so again, this I would say that this has to be well thought of. Okay, before you go to site, otherwise we'll get disoriented. Probably one of the outcome can be on growth corridors. Okay, at the end of your study, you may say this is what is existing. Okay, and probably you will say this is what is going to be tomorrow, right? So the more understanding that we have on what is existing today, probably we'll be in a better position to say how the city will work tomorrow, right? So that's why we are spending a lot of time on understanding what kind of information is needed to describe what is existing. Okay, this is one of the broad outcome. The other outcome can be on the built environment. Okay, what is the combination of built and specifically residential and non-residential, or density assessment of the town, so that from built environment perspective, this study can be oriented, or it can be primarily for infrastructure. I leave to you. It has to be decided collectively how you approach this. Okay, so this is broadly what data collection is all about, and how we can proceed. Okay, but if you see the requirements, URDPFI specifically mentions certain things. Okay, certain informations are readily available, certain informations we have to collect from the site. So what I have put is, this is again, this is not made by me, it's already there. I'm just putting it here. You can go back and take the document and read in detail to understand what information that can be collected and which is suitable for you for doing this exercise. Okay, so I have put everything here, but I'll just tell you which I feel which is relevant for you at this level to map it, to have information on. For example, let's say of the first physical characteristics. There are certain things that is put here. Maybe these things may not be required. Okay, we will not be doing something on how the flood patterns are and so on and so forth. So probably not required. Okay, we need information on water bodies because we have a river in the site. Okay, and how is it impacting? That is required. Groundwater, again, probably this may not be the focus of the urban design studio. So this again can be left out. Again, this is maybe not required. What are the? I'll just tell you what is required. In this case, I would say we need information on the water bodies and the drainage pattern, so that we can say what is the impact of the river, which is I would say that the case area that you have, it has a natural boundary. One is the river on the west, and you have a railway track on the east. Okay, and the town is in middle. So definitely there will be an impact of this on the town itself. Okay, so this is one component that is required, and they also mention where you can look for information to get it. Okay, so that's with respect to physical aspect. Let's say with respect to planning aspect, I was telling you there are different boundaries. Probably if we can get hold of zones, zonal boundary. I know that this is available for water supply. They create this kind of zones for water supply, or this one of the information, census wards. Census wards is also available. So even this will help in demarcating area. Okay, this is let's say this is your entire town. Okay, let's say this is the river and the rail, and if we can divide the zones into not by ourselves, ideally by using some administrative boundaries. If you don't have access to that, then we can do something. We can have grids, uniform grids, and grids can be taken as study area. Okay, that can also be done. But primarily, if we have some administrative boundary, that will be the most appropriate way of going ahead with the study. But since we have not made an attempt, I'm sure that it will be available. If it is not available, we can think of making this as a grid, and then grid-based study can also be done. Okay, so that's administrative information, boundary information, and if you see here, the input or the source where you can look for this is revenue records. Okay, revenue maps are available. You can pay and get for that particular town, and then we can take boundaries from that as well. Okay, and like I also said, they have a map, municipal map. Maybe I can show it now. I was just checking what information they have. So there is a map like this. Okay, this is for the town. This is for Ambur town. I think this is a very rough information, but since it is there, so that means they have access to drawings like this. So we have to visit the municipality, get this information, and from here on we can narrow down which area can be studied, which requires more attention. Okay, so that's one thing with respect to the information on planning and administrative boundary line. There are other informations, like for example, let's say local regional setting, location, these things we already have information. Probably will not go into details. Let's say history of development. If one of your layer is also to identify the how different architectural style has evolved over a period of time. Okay, if you visit the town, there are buildings which are kind of Haveli type. Okay, there are buildings which are more of Chettinad style. Okay, and there are many houses. You will find many houses with Madras terrace and so on and so forth. So let's say if your intention is to map how the city has evolved, okay, so this information will be useful. Okay, so this one of the parameters that you can look for. Climate information, at least I think this is not a big deal. We can extract these information for specific. Let's say if you are coming out with specific design intervention, that time these climate related information is required. Okay, primary things, more important thing that will have a direct impact on how we can come out with some meaningful interventions in the town is on the land use assessment. Okay, so we should know what is existing land use, okay, and also proposed land use. There are two things that is mentioned here, right? These informations, by looking at I just showed you an image, they have a master plan for the town. Okay, so that means they have this information. That itself is sufficient. And also we'll be using our own sources, OSM base, and also the satellite images that we have taken, and we'll be doing digitization of the study area. So once you go to site, and this digitization can be classified based on your primary information. Okay, whether the building that you're doing is residential, commercial, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is required as a residential, industrial, mixed use, and so on and so forth, all the typologies of the building. Okay, and agriculture is also mentioned. Probably we may not be doing it, but in broad we can, if there is a requirement, this data can be taken up. Otherwise, residential, industrial, commercial, vacant lands, and vegetated areas can be mapped first for the specific area that you're studying. Other things are also there. Again, like I said, this is going to be a vast exercise if you do everything. So we should have a focused, objective-driven exercise. So if you are focusing only on the built environment, take the parameters which is required for analyzing only built environment. Other things we need not discuss. Let's say if you are focused, one of your focus is on to environmental aspect. You want to study on the environmental layer. Then we need informations like the air, water, and noise pollutions, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is another information, another layer that we can think of. Conservation, okay, again I'll just leave these things, we will not go into details of this. Heritage, I don't see, we do have some sites there, I don't think so. Heritage and tourism as well, not much. Hazard and flood prone, maybe this information is required because you have a river. And if even in the recent rain, most of the adjacent villages and settlements were severely affected. Okay, so this will also help in identifying the probable indentation areas and so on and so forth. Just one line. Okay, we don't have to do a lot of exercise. We just have to know what are the flood lines. Okay, maybe 10-year flood line or 25-year flood line. Whatever data is available is maybe good enough for us, just to demarcate what could be the probable extent of flood in case if it happens again. Demography, okay, like I said, we have census data already. In addition to that, I think you will be conducting socioeconomic survey. So most of the information that you require, you will get it. Okay, otherwise these informations are already there in the census data itself. Okay. Economic and social development. Um, Again, with respect to the case area that you are talking, that we are talking, it's primarily leather driven. Okay, so you should see how where are these major industries, okay, and where are they supporting economic activity within the town, how is it connected, and so on and so forth. Housing and shelter, this is probably one of the major component that you will be doing. Built up area, mapping of built up area and the characteristics of the built up area, okay, and how it is distributed. Maybe we will not be getting these property boundaries and all, but at least in a broader sense, we'll be able to demarcate what is the density of development. Okay, and again, this you're going to do two things. One, of course, you will do based on the secondary information. You will do the mapping, and after going to the site, this has to be verified. Okay, whether this is okay or this has to be added like this or this has to be removed. Okay, this kind of verification has to be done when you visit the site. So primarily, let's say 80% of the work in terms of mapping of building should be done before you actually go to the site. Inside, the first thing is verification of these tracing of buildings and so on and so forth, and also adding the additional understanding that you develop on this. Okay, so this is probably one of the major component that you will be studying. Transportation, I think only the primary focus will be on streets, okay, or one of the national highways that is connecting the town, that is bypassing the town. Not bypassing the town, it's passing the town. It's exactly cutting the town, and it passes through the town. Okay, so there's a specific character. This can also be studied. Okay, rail is there, but I think this mapping is more than good enough. Yeah. Then we have something called infrastructure. See, again, like I said, infrastructure, it can be water supply, drainage, sewerage, power, telecom, health, so on and so forth. Again, are we going to do everything? No, I don't think that's possible, right? So depending on the focus, if you are interested in promoting the educational activities, or if the focus is on to promote the health activities, so on and so forth, it has to be done. Yes.
Can you zoom the write-ups that you are showing? Because we are projecting it in single screen, so it is quite far away. If it is zoomed and shown, it will be better. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, I'm almost done. Yeah. So it says updated base map. Okay, so base map is the primary thing before we actually go for the study, and then we build things from there. Okay, just in summary, I would tell you what I would recommend. What kind of information we have to take it out. One, we have to map more correctly on the river and the extent of river and its impact on the town. Okay, one. Second, we need some boundary layer. Okay, so it can be like I said, zone, or it can be census ward as well. But we need an administrative boundary. Okay, just to be more realistic. Then there are certain historical event that has happened in the town. Okay, so this has to be read and then related to the text that you are developing later on. This climate information, I think you don't have to go anywhere. Once you are into designing or intervention phase, that time this can be analyzed, and then specific interventions can be drawn. Major assessment will be on land use, okay, existing land use, so that we have understanding on how the growth is taking place, and what kind of infrastructure requirement or what kind of interventions are required in terms of urban design. Okay, then then I have mentioned that the residential part. Okay, this is primarily these are the two major things which I think you should be doing, mapping more precisely on this. Okay, so that's about the guidelines and the data that is mentioned in the URDPFI guideline, so that to proceed with. See, my suggestion is you should look into this guideline and then see what specific data set that you can narrow down and then collect information on. Okay, so there are many things mentioned here. We don't have to look for multiple sources. You just go to URDPFI guideline, and even for, let's say, how to conduct survey, there is a chapter on how to conduct survey. Okay, and let's say I want to do mapping of social infrastructure. How to do that? There is a specific, there is two or three paragraphs on how to map social infrastructure, what precautions that we have to take, and how do we update the map that you carry with you. Okay, so a lot of information is available in this document. Okay, so this will give you a good handhold on how to approach, how to look for information, what kind of information that we can look for. Okay, that's my second part of the discussion. The third part of the discussion is how do we approach. This looks like more broad information that we are trying to collect, but time and again I have been saying we need to have an objective driven exercise for urban design, right? Which it can be, let's say, studying only the urban grains, okay, whether it is dense or it can be in terms of only density, okay, or it can be in terms of environment, or it can be in terms of culture, and so on and so forth. So there should be one objective written for the urban design studio, and based on that objective, everything, the data collection should revolve around. Otherwise, we'll end up collecting so many information that may not be required for us. Okay, so that's one thing. So I put something. One of the primary things that we can do is a street network plan indicating street hierarchy, that anyway we are doing it. Landscape and open space structure indicating types of open space and so on and so forth, distribution across the study area. Maybe this will help in probably coming out with specific interventions in and around the open space. Or if you identify one or two primary streets, okay, how do you bring certain specific characteristics for the street? How do you bring life into the street, so on and so forth. Okay, so narrowing down can be on these lines as well. Okay, it can be on street, it can be on the open and built and open space characteristics, mapping of that, and then specifically coming out with interventions for that. Or it can be density driven. Okay, what is the how's the density spread across the town, okay, and what kind of density can be envisaged for future developments, and so on. Or it can be only on civic amenities. Okay, for example, let's say our interest is just to to look at the problem in a holistic manner. Let's say only with respect to, let's say, open space. Okay, and you already have the networks drawn. Okay, and you already have mapped the existing greeneries or parcel of open land that is available. Now we can do an assessment on whether it is sufficient and how it can be improved and so on and so forth. Okay, so one of the objective can be that, or one of the objective can be, let's say, mapping of specific infrastructure, let's say educational infrastructure. Okay, and how do we by studying that whether it is satisfying the population that is there, or do we need more, and how it can be envisaged. Okay, so again, it can be on street, or it can be on open and built and open space relationship, or it can be only on built, or it can be on civic amenities and infrastructures and so on and so forth. Mobility, accessibility, connectivity, street furnitures, including street plantation. All these are all primarily for a specific area that can be thought of. I'm just putting a few things just to give an idea how this can be approached. Basically, I would look at this in two ways. We need to have a very good understanding on two components to approach this. Let's say one is the carrying capacity and the population. Okay, let us say we are saying we have a big town and it is 17 square kilometers and so. Can we address this as 17 square kilometer design exercise? No, it is not possible, right? It is too big for us to handle. However, we have different layers, like we did discuss. We have layers on social, we have layers on cultural aspect, we have layers on economic aspect, we have layers on open space, we have layers on built, we have layers on, let's say, environment. Okay, or it can be on more specific, let's say, education, health, so on and so forth. We have a lot of layers in hand. Now, based on the secondary information, we know what is the population, and we can, based on, I think it's based on 2011, and we can update it with 2022, that based on your site visit, and you can collect information from the municipality, and it can be projected as well. Okay, this is not a big deal. Okay, for a projected population, okay, and let's say let's discuss on, let's say, social infrastructure. For a projected population on, let's say, for let's say we do discuss only on let's say schools, or let's say from directly on design perspective, let's say open space. Okay, and this is the open space network, green network that we have, that you have mapped in the town. Very broad mapping. Now with the existing population, okay, and there is a per capita green cover required as well, right? It's all there in the URDPFI guidelines as well. If you do the carrying, what is the existing green cover, and with what is the existing population, and what is the demand gap based on the standards, how do you place additional green spaces in your study area? Okay, so for all these in layers, the study can be approached on this. Okay, what is the population, what is the existing carrying capacity, and depending on our focus, it can be built, it can be open, it can be health, it can be school facilities, it can be any other facility, any layers that you take. My suggestion is you can do a broad assessment like this, and then probably you can take out one of the samples and do a detailed interventions. Okay, how's it going to look, how the design is going to look, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what I thought. This is how the problem can be approached so that we don't end up doing taking up things which is beyond our capacity. Okay, I have just put some indications based on this. Okay, let's say it can be to study the characteristics and profiling of streets. Can we come out with some architectural understanding of the streets? And you can talk, like I said, see, if you take up one layer only on street, a lot of things can be done. Okay, the geometry, the architectural characteristics, it can be purely on architectural characteristics also, or it can be, you can drive the discussions based on climate characteristics as well. Okay, all that is possible. Okay, this is one level, it can be narrowed down. The second level is, of course, taking up the entire stretch of street and then giving a holistic understanding. Okay, this is more like how do you design cross-sectionally, maybe in terms of let's say climate and so on and so forth. This is more to do with activity, activity driven, what happens in the street, how the street want to be regulated, and so on and so forth. So this can be one of the scale of intervention. Or this is another, this is not the same. I've just coincidentally I found another one example where we have a river, okay, and specific interventions can be thought of, and that can be detailed out. But we need a layer like this. We need a layer on the first place before we actually go and specifically say we can do something. Okay, or it can be one small neighborhood demarcated, and then specific land use and other things can be worked out, or density can be worked out, or if you want to say how the development should happen, all that can be done. I was sometime I was mentioning about growth corridors. Okay, let's say if you identify this is the extent of the town and so on and so forth, and probably tomorrow the town will expand in this direction. Okay, and for that, what is your vision for that neighborhood, how that neighborhood would look like? You have already studied, let's say, these areas, and you have visited them, and probably you may notice some issues and you may appreciate certain things. With that understanding, if you are given a small layout like this, how do you envisage that? What kind of design interventions that you can think and bring it to? Okay, so this is another way of looking at, or coming out with specific area-driven interventions. This street requires certain things. There is some infrastructure required. There's some interventions required in different part of the town. Okay, all these things can be done instead of approaching the entire town itself. Okay, these are just random images only, nothing to, there's no specific thing, just to show you from broad understanding we can come to specific understandings. Okay, specific interventions. Primarily this is what you will end up doing this. Okay, but we need to have a broad understanding before we actually come to this. Okay, otherwise there's no link between what we intervene here and to the entire city itself. Okay, that's what the idea is. Yeah, this is the image I was telling you. This is the boundary of Ambur. Okay, and they have, these are lines, you see, these are actually zones. I don't have a better map. I just it is there in the same municipality website. Okay, so let's say if you take up one zone and if you study that itself, that can also be done, because for example, let's say some of the zones does not have the density, the same density that as you see here in zone 4 and zone 1 4. Zone 1 and 4 is primarily, or zone 1 is the primary settlement. Okay, in other zones are all zone 4 also have more density, but otherwise zone 3, zone 2, there are habitations but not to that extent. Okay, so yeah, that's it from my side. I have to tell you one thing before I close. For mapping, you have to go to Google Earth Images, okay, and I think Google Earth Pro gives an option of saving images which are big enough for tracing. Okay, so let's say this is Ambur. Okay, again, just to give an understanding on, this is how the town is. This is the river, okay, and this is the railway line, and I'm seeing this as natural boundary for the study itself. Okay, so not only the road network that you see here, we also have NH. NH is also there, so there are two boundaries actually. So this is railway line and the NH, and we have the natural boundary on the west. Fine. So primarily part of this can be studied actually. Okay, so these things, maybe what the process is, let's say you have demarcated the boundary. After that, we need to take images. Let's say, for example, I take images. This happens only in Google Earth Pro. Okay, so there is an option of saving the high resolution image. All right, so if you save that, this will be not good enough. If we take the entire shot like this, it will be difficult for us to trace. Okay, so we need closer images. Okay, take multiple, maybe let's say I'll give you an example then. Let's say I'll just take the screenshot of this. Okay, so let's say, okay, we can also check the distance. Okay, it's almost 2 kilometers here, and here is 1.5 kilometers. Okay. Three kilometers, and the depth is varying. Okay, so this is more or less the entire area, which is 3 kilometers. Okay, and this is 2, and here it is coming down to 1.5 kilometers, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what can happen is you have to actually divide this into grids, Okay, maybe 500 by 500 and so. Okay, and we have to take images separately. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The more closer image you take, the better it is. Okay, so let's say even if you divide this further, that's also fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 images you take here. Okay, all this image has to be stretched. Actually, there is a if we know remote sensing, it can be done directly. Otherwise, we can use the known softwares. Only thing is we are just what do you do? Mosaicing it. Okay, the technical word is mosaicing. I'll just we just have to overlap. Okay, so let's say we have multiple images. Okay, we have to have individual images like this. Okay, for small, let's say 10 images, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I can do that just to give an idea. Okay, we should have 10 images like this, smaller areas, and made it as one collage or one diagram, sorry, one image, and then that can be used for digitization. All right, so the more the more grids, the better it is, right? Okay, that's the because we'll get to see more clarity if you zoom in further. Okay, that is one thing. Did I miss anything? Yeah, we also have some information.
Dr. Pius, I have a question.
Yes.
Any guidance on how to scale this? That is, when we are taking these smaller screenshots and then matching it with that open so mapping with the roads. Is there any technique to do that, or we just do it manually?
Are you asking how to, let's say we have this image now, how to scale, let's say if we have stretched everything, and then how do we scale this? Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. I think probably this is known for example.
Yes.
Yeah, scaling it up. We know what is the actual measurement. We can take measurements and we know the reference point there. Or you can, in fact, technically these are actually called ground control points. We are not doing all that. Okay, I'm not discussing in that way. We know what is there are certain locations. Okay, there are certain specific locations we know, and that measurements also we know. So using that as a reference, we can scale this up.
Using that, okay. Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, I was saying in Bhuvan website, there are certain informations as well. Somebody has to explore this. You go to Bhuvan website. There are so many things actually. There are informations pertaining to thematic informations are also there, and specific informations are also there. You have to explore this tool because some of the data will be readily available, so which can be taken. For example, let's say you go further. This is one. Bhuvan Light also has information that can be checked. Primarily, this portal has got information that will be useful for us. Okay, and you can see different layers in that. And okay, yeah, one last thing. I also said you will be doing socioeconomic survey, right? Socioeconomic survey, I said it will depend on the kind of objective that you write for the urban design. Okay. Now, I also said your DPFI guideline also talks about how to conduct surveys, socioeconomic survey or infrastructure survey or any survey. There is a explicit discussion on how to conduct it. One thing. I find this useful. There is a report. There is a report on socioeconomic and educational status of the Muslims in the Telangana state. Is done by the government of Telangana. If you go to this document in 220, there is one survey format that is attached with this: socioeconomic and educational status of households in Telangana. Okay, so if you look at this document, I hope maybe I'll just open PDF so that I can zoom. Yeah. There is, we don't have to do everything. Okay, I'm just telling you this can be the most explicit way of data collection. Okay, so this document can be taken, and whatever relevant information that is required for the studio, that alone can be taken from here. Okay, I'll just show you the extent of questions that can be asked. Okay, so this is free, actually. Free in the sense it can be used. We can use for research purpose. It is open source only. We can use it. So I'll show you some content. These are introductory part. This is more to do with the individuals, okay, and their characteristics. More personal informations. Then on, if you see this column, okay, we have a column here is relation, age, sex, status, marital status, education. Then we have other columns which talks about religion, nature of work, income, health, okay, and what kind of questions are asked. Okay, that is already there in the template itself. Okay, this is on health. Then specific questions on community level, community driven questions, or other household characteristics related questions, or access to facilities, infrastructure facilities related questions. Economic status related questions. Okay, so this is already there. What is needed is education, again training, I think, yeah, social networking. I think this is another, the objective of this study is different, so that's why they have different questions, specific questions are all asked. Okay, and loan related information are there. So there are actually this indicates the number of questions that is asked, number of data that is collected. Okay, 1000 odd data is collected. Okay, each row is one data set. So this document can be read, and depending on the objective of the urban studio, some questions can be taken from here. And in fact, you can also see this will also help in prior to this, let's say you also have interpretations of the data collected also. Okay, so one of the difficulty is, okay, we have collected the data, how do we interpret? That is also an issue, right? So maybe if you just follow any one of the report, this can be one of the report. See how questions are framed, how the data is collected on site, and you also have ready informations on this which talks about how to interpret the data also, how to present the data set, how to interpret also. Alright, so this can be a reference material for that. Okay, anything else that I have put here? Yeah. Okay, I'm done. That's it from my side. If you have any specific questions, we can take that. Any questions? Okay, then I think if there are no questions, it's fine. What is to be done?
1 minute.
Yes.
There was this BB bikes that we were talking about. So,
Yeah.
any possibility how the layering is done in a BB bikes, or is OSM enough?
No, it is a data set. Okay, maybe I can redo that.
And sometimes I find in BB bikes that we can take the different layers, the building and all those things. The same thing is there in OSM, or either of them is user friendly?
No, BB bytes, the output of BB byte is same. I'll just show you the output, then you'll get an idea. If you, I don't know whether I can zoom this. This BB byte, okay.
Actually, we are seeing in a screen, so not clear. It's seen from far away.
Okay. Actually, okay, maybe I can explain it then. The output of BB byte is from OSM only. If you actually see the output layer that you get in mail,
Okay.
it says bbbyte.org/OSM extract. Okay, the file, the information is it takes is actually from OSM only.
So the extraction that we are doing, what is the type of file we should go for? There is this ESRI file, there is this OSM file, wireframe. There are so many file typologies that are there. So which file in which file format we should extract it?
DXF, because primarily we'll use AutoCAD for mapping. So my suggestion is we should download OSM data and then convert that into DXF. And from DXF we can
That is, we should download them as OSM file.
OSM.
Extracting file format is OSM.
OSM, yeah. After OSM we can't directly read that in CAD. So there is a online tool, OSM to DXF converter. Just upload the file, we will be able to convert OSM to DXF file. So DXF file can be used in CAD. Yeah.
converted into AutoCAD file and like that.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So there you will get all those layers, right? The three
Yeah,
layers.
I just checked. The problem is we do have information, good information on streets and road network. This is for the case area Ambur only. But the other issue, the problem is we don't have. I'll show you the other
When you
layers.
zoom it, Dr. Pai, that road part of it does not seem to be that clear for us. Is that just like line or
It is a line only. It is line only. Maybe I can change the.
we don't get the width of these streets and all those things?
No, we don't get the width of this. It's only line. It's only line.
Okay.
Yeah, other information is also there. For example, let's say these informations are also there once you extract from OSM. But these are actually we don't have enough information. For example, let's say building is also there. Where is building? Yeah, building is there. But only these many buildings footprint is available.
But that is not the case.
Yeah, no, that is available. Yeah, it is open source, no, so that's an issue. That's why I said for buildings, what we need to do is we should go to the Google Earth and trace the built up.
Okay. Fine.
And Dr. Files, any information on how to map the water bodies? Can it be, any information can be derived from any of this, or will that be too much for this level?
Sorry, say, can you ask the question again?
Okay, how do we map the water bodies?
Okay, one of the good things.
Can it be taken from Google Earth itself? One way is we trace it.
Actually, if you there are two things which I primarily suggest is we should get hold of revenue map. Okay, the second one is which is the land use map that is available with the municipality. Revenue maps will give you most accurate drawing of the water bodies. Okay, these are supposed to be revenue maps, so which is surveyed map, most accurate drawing that you will find. So that can be one of the layer. The other layer can be anyway we are going to do this mapping using the satellite data. That time also you can map and check what is the deviation in the current water body and what is actually that is recorded in the revenue maps. And also the third verification can be done using the land use map that they have prepared. See, there can be a difference in only built up. There can be differences in the built up. There can be differences in alignment of roads. By and large, the natural features will be there as it is. Okay, so if you compare revenue map and the land use map, 90% or 95% of the time it will be same. There will not be much deviation. There will be deviations in the road alignment. New roads may have come or widened. All that is possible. There will not be any deviation in the natural features, especially like water bodies.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Faiz.
No other questions, right? No questions, right? Thank you, Dr. Faiz, for taking up this session and giving an idea on the base map creations. I hope the students would have taken it very seriously post lunch and had a nice lighting atmosphere, which was otherwise useful. So hopefully, I believe that this will help in creating the base map quickly and then work on further when we go to the field visit. And we will be coming back to you on further layering when students get an idea of how to layer it. So there's another level of complexity that we are expecting your help in this regard.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your useful sharing of thoughts.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank
Yes, it was a very informative workshop. Thank you so much at the apt time also. Thanks to Dr. Fayez and Anis sir also for arranging this. Very important, needed for the students. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
We conclude this session with this. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Fayez.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Can we do tomorrow? Yeah, you please come. You tell me what is that you're doing, because I'm a little tired. I was having classes from the morning. Please sit.
I have just 3 notes.
Yeah, please sit. Yes.
Sorry. So sir, I was doing, as per the modeling, I was doing modeling parts. I've collected all the info about the museums, but some museum is not available online. And they are not 100% accurate, sir, because they are not exact dimensions have not been given. So as per the anthropometry, I have taken measurements, like say windows, skylights, etc. The second note is, sir, I have a parameter called window head height to the room depth. So I just wanted to ask, if suppose the building, the particular part which I'm doing is on the second floor, so I have to consider all the ground floor, first floor?
No, not
really. That floor.
See, I think you are getting confused. That's why I clarified on your presentation also. See, we are looking for the daylight system in the museums, not the museums modeling. Okay, that's what I was saying. So if they are using specific sections, specific daylight system, that we are modeling and checking whether how is it working. That is what we are doing. We are not seeing the other part. But sir said, when you do that, don't do just like this. Just do some in and around area as well.
Yes.
So my